Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tales of Woe. I am your humble storyteller, Tim, and today, a quick tale about my most recent one-shot with my new D&D group. A few of my workmates that I'd been telling about my YouTube channel had expressed some interest in D&D, and so I decided that I wanted to run a second, smaller D&D group as opposed to the main group, which we have the show for. Primarily just, to try around some different things, because after a little while, when you're playing in the same sort of setting, it can get a little bit... you can get a little bit bored with the story. You don't want to just throw that story away. So I figured this would be a good way for me to be able to try out some alternative stories while still maintaining the main storyline in the other campaign. But regardless, today's adventure was one that I had actually played as a player, and I have no idea what the name of it is, and I really wish I could remember the name of the DM that ran it. But just be aware that this adventure is not of my own devising. It is one that I adapted from memory, remembering how the campaign went. And anyone else out there, of course, feel free to utilize this one for yourself. And it's a pretty simple adventure, but regardless. This one involves my three new players. We have Dollar and Gary and Jess. These are three latest recruits of the main force within my D&D world, known as the Guild. Essentially, what's happened is that after the events of the previous campaign, or my first campaign, Selena, one of the main characters from that campaign, she has become the de facto guardian of the Apocalypse Stone, as well as had custodianship of the crashed spaceship from the expedition to the Barrier Peaks. And so, not wanting to have the world fall into the same mistakes that her original party fell into, and not causing three individual apocalypses, has decided to take adventurers from all over the world, bring them to the ship, train them, and then send them off on adventures, basically making sure that random adventurers that are going out and getting into trouble, like raiding tombs and unleashing liches and all that sort of stuff, that there's essentially a police force to go in after them and make sure that they haven't broken the world. And that is what the Guild is all about. And so our three latest members of the Guild, they rock up and they've had their orientation. Gary, the centaur, is your typical fighter character, just wanting to punch everything and just shouting at everything, demanding in the third person that everything be given to him immediately, and not understanding how technology works. Jess is the mother figure of the group. She's a cleric healer, and is just constantly concerned about the shenanigans that her two other party members are getting up to. And then, of course, Dollar is a kobold barbarian who, although very capable in fighting, is also very cowardly, and speaks as though he has a constant cold. So he's always talking like out of his nose, which is very, very cute. But Selena calls them up to the bridge and informs them that their orientation is complete and it is time for their first assignment. And what's been going on in the world is that she has created an entire army or police force of warforgers, and has deposited them all over the world into different towns in order to assist the local law enforcement, and also to be her eyes and ears should any adventurers get into trouble. And they're all connected to a central network that feeds back to the Equinox, so that if there's any trouble that crops up in distant towns, she can find out about it. And they get told that the Darius unit, which is what they are called, it's an acronym, Data Analyzing Robotic Information Utility System. That's Darius. The Darius unit that they sent to this town has gone offline. There were no other battle damage recorded. It just stopped functioning. And so, as a simple mission for their first run, they are to go and investigate what happened to this Darius. And so they get boarded onto the Spelljammer ship. It takes them off to into space. They drop back down out on the outskirts of town. And when they arrive, there is no one about. The entire town is completely abandoned. And it strikes them as odd because a spaceship or a flying boat descending over your town would tend to attract a certain amount of attention, but there's just no one about, except for the ominous sound of buzzing in the background. As they walk into town, the buzzing increases and the sun begins to blot out as this dark cloud swarms over the town, and I have them make Constitution saving throws, which they all pass as the sound is covering up their ears. And then they see the Darius unit leaning up against the center of the town well in the town square. Gary gathers it up and then looks around, and he sees a man sticking out of the local tavern, waving them over and covering his ears. They charge into the tavern. The bartender informs them that everyone in the town has basically left. They've packed up and gone because these bees have been swarming everywhere over town and making life generally unpleasant, and they don't know why, because honey is one of the main resources of the town, and the local druid who runs the largest bee colonies in the region has always been more than amiable with the group, but something has gone completely wrong, and rather than having to fight against her, people are just packing up and leaving because it's less trouble, I guess. At least that's the explanation that the bartender gives them. And so they all head off to visit this druid, and when they get there, they find the entire house is covered in beehives, and there's just bees everywhere, just covered in bees. And Gary, before they left the tavern, grabbed a barrel of alcohol, which he carried the entire time. I think, okay, he's just going to get drunk with this, but no. As soon as he gets there and he sees the bees, he's like, right, I'm going to deal with these bees. He uncorks the barrel and just uses stealth, which he manages to utilize successfully. Even for a centaur, he's quite sneaky. Goes up to one of the beehives, pours the alcohol all around it, and then brings a line of alcohol back, and then uses his tinderbox to light it up, burns out, and then the beehive is automatically on fire. His thinking being, of course, that the smoke will incapacitate the bees, and he is partially right, but it also stirs up all the other bees. Now, I wasn't expecting them to just go immediately bull rushing in, as it were, but having a centaur in the group, that I really should not have expected anything less. And so the combat is on. Dollar, the kobold, hides in, literally puts the barrel over his head and just hides in the barrel, Metal Gear Solid style, and Jess hides in the bushes underneath her shield and disguises it, and just lets Gary do his thing. Gary gets completely swarmed by the bees, and through a because they're only level 1 characters, and there's a lot of bees in the bee swarm. They just use the swarm of wasps stat line. Even with just the limited amount of attacks and whatever that they have, there was enough of them to down Gary, so Gary's out of action. And then the druid comes out and he's like, "Yes, my bees, it is time. The interlopers have come. You know your plan. Go, complete your assignments." And the majority of the swarms swarm up into one massive cloud and head off towards the town, leaving just one additional swarm of bees and the druid for them to deal with. Jess gets Gary up, and the fight is on. Dollar inside the barrel, rolls the barrel towards the druid. The druid pays it no mind. Attempting to entangle them, the druid fails to do so, and then Gary just bull rushes and gores her, and with the help of Dollar's whip, they manage to incapacitate the druid, knocking her out. The fire is currently spreading to the house, so they figure they better investigate the house quickly to find out what is going on, and they discover a letter inside, from the Xanathar Guild, or the real estate agents of Xanathar, and Silgar, saying that the town of I didn't actually give it a name, but just for the sake of it, I'll call it Honeywood because it's all honey. The town of Honeywood has great resources underneath it that he requires, but in order to facilitate this, the town needs to be empty, and so. If the druid would be willing to utilize their bees to inconvenience the townsfolk, then the real estate agent of Xanathar, and Silgar would be very grateful and allow them free roam to spread their hives wherever it is they like around town. All the outlying farms will become the druids, provided that the town is emptied out. And so that is what's been going on with all of these bees. And so they went, right, well, we better go and find out what these bees are up to. So they run back to town, and they see the bees swarming around the town. There's massive bee cloud all around the town. There's a swarm of bees hanging out over the well. There's a swarm of bees hanging out over one building, and a swarm of bees flying out of the tavern. They run in to check on the tavern owner, and they find that the tavern owner has been tied down with vines, and what appears to be a small pipe bomb has been strapped to his chest, and he's going, the bees, they pinned me down and managed to utilize their massive bee powers, and they constructed this and strapped it to my body. They've put others around town. I have no idea what's going on. You have to stop them. I've never seen such industrious bees. And so Gary goes out and attempts to fight the bees using the druid as a club, because they still had the druid's body, and Dollar and Jess work together, and they disconnect the pipe bomb from the tavern keeper. Run outside. They find another bomb in the well, and another bomb strapped to the door of another building. While this fight is going on, they gather up all of the all of the bombs and put them together, and they're like, okay, we have no idea, we're going to get these out of town. And they realize, oh crap, we don't have enough time, because there's a small digital readout on the pipe bomb that's beginning to tick down. And so like, oh, we don't have enough time. And so Gary straps the bombs to the druid and just hoiks it up into the air at the swarm, and then they all run inside the tavern to take cover. And then they think they're safe, and then suddenly, kaboom! The druid crashes through the roof of the tavern, and the pipe bombs spill out into the town, into the interior. And everyone's like, we're all going to die! And the countdown timer goes to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as they reach to cover up the bombs to protect the tavern owner, the bombs detonate, and what releases is a cloud of honey. And so, although these are very industrious bees, they know how to build one substance, and that is honey. And so they've decided to make the town very sticky in order to inconvenience them. But thanks to the quick thinking of Gary of setting fire to the druid, as well as them killing the crap out of it with bull attacks, and them gathering the pipe bombs into one central location, the town was saved from becoming sticky. The bees no longer having their druid. They look inside the hole of the roof of the tavern and look very disappointed, and so I just describe as the bees fly off to enact their plans elsewhere. And that was where the session ended, with them all being very sticky with honey. And so that was their very first adventure. So yeah, it's a very silly little adventure, but I like it as an introductory one, because it has a little bit of a fight, a little bit of a mystery, a little bit of tension as the countdown timers begin, and also a little bit of a lead in for other adventures with the real estate agent wanting to buy up the villages in order to find out what is underneath. So the mystery is, what is underneath the town? Who is the Xanathar Guild, or the real estate agents of Xanathar, and Silgar? These are all questions that may be answered in future sessions, or depending on what they do, they may not. But a fun little session, and as you can see, it's very, very simple to run. If anyone else wants to do it, all you need is just single town, cabin with druid, and the interior of the tavern if you're looking for battle maps. But yeah, that's really all it is, and you don't. All you need for stat lines is the druid and the swarm of wasps, and you can basically make this for as many party members as you like, just by increasing the number of bees that attack. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little tale of woe. Please remember to like and subscribe. I have been your humble host, Tim, and join me for more tales in the next Tale of Woe. Bye!